Good morning, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for your patience. It's a pleasure to welcome you today to this workshop where it's a hybrid workshop. We have a very big offline audience in Shanghai, as you can see from the video, but we also have quite a lot of participants online, mostly from Europe. So it's a great pleasure again to welcome you here. Today is about cosmetics, which is a very important sector, as we all know. It's also a sector that has gone through different regulatory changes in the past 2-3 years. So if you can change the slide, please, Kitty. So today's webinar, by the way, my name is Alessio Pettino. I'm the business advisor of the EU SME Centre. This webinar is organized by us today together with the European Chamber. Next slide, please. Today's webinar, we have three main parts. The first one is an overview. We have very distinguished speakers to provide an overview of recent EU-China dialogue, regulatory collaboration. Then we move into more detailed developments on the regulations, especially on the cosmetic supervision and administration regulations, as well as recent updates to that. After that, we are going to delve into the full safety assessment report, which is a very new and still pretty complex thing. So our expert will provide updates and tips on how to address this issue. And then after that, we're going to have a panel discussion, a Q&A. Of course, if you have any questions, you can write them in the Q&A chat, in the Q&A section of the Zoom. So next slide, please. Before starting, I would like to spend a couple of minutes on our project, on introducing what we do. The EU SME Centre, next please. The EU SME Centre is a project funded by the European Commission. We, since 2010, so 14 years already. And our mission is to assist European small and medium-sized enterprises, as well as business support organizations, trade organizations to do business with China, to get to know China, to understand how China works, and to be fully prepared to approach the Chinese market. We are implemented by a consortium of chambers of commerce, which you can see here on the bottom, and the European Chamber is one of the most let's say long-lasting and important partners of our project, and we're very happy to be co-organizing this webinar today with the European Chamber. Next slide, please. So the way we support SMEs and business organizations is through 5 main services. All of them are absolutely free of charge. Nothing will be charged ever. So we have a self-diagnosis tool. This is more an entry-level tool that SMEs can use as a sort of quiz to test their knowledge of how the Chinese market works. We have a knowledge center. Basically, we have market reports, market access guidelines, case studies on different sectors, including one on cosmetics, which was released 1.5 years ago, and it's pretty good. I think it provides also a list of the competent authorities in member states to obtain the GMP certificate for animal testing exceptions. So I really recommend you to go there. Advice Center, we have a sort of help desk. It's a sort of help desk that any company can use to ask any questions, including technical questions, standards, certification. Again, we have it's completely free. We have a team of experts who can answer these questions. We do training sessions like today, and we also have an advocacy platform. We do some working group meetings, and we try to collect some feedback from practical implementations and regulations in China. Next, please. That's pretty much it from our side. Again, we are super happy to do this webinar today. We see a lot of participants. Very good. Now I'll give the floor to Mr. Jackie Zhang, who is the chairman of the Cosmetics Working Group of the Chamber. It's very nice to cooperate with you again, Jackie. And thank you. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you, Alexio. So first of all, I'm very glad to give you a presentation about the Cosmetic Working Group of EUCCC, and also how we mobilize our advocacy effort on the recent cosmetic regulation changes. And also it's very glad to see both EUCCC Cosmetic Working Group together with the EU SME Centre co-organize this event to give the update to everyone. So first of all, I'll give you a very quick overview about the EU CCC in terms of the advocacy. So especially have a closer look at the government dialogue and also the policy interpretation effort through this channel. So you can see actually annually, EU CCC will attend meetings with Chinese government at a different level. In 2023, last year, already 405 meetings held at all levels. And also we positively influenced the development of the government legislation with 74 submission of the comments. And also more importantly, we contribute to the draft of the advocacy letter to this government to influence the Chinese legislation in a constructive and a positive way. So overall, last year, 38 advocacy letter has been sent to Chinese government. And then, as you know, EU CCC, we have many working groups and forums for different sectors. And no doubt, cosmetic working group is one of them. And also we have a very historical and also the famous activity in terms of collective effort and also high engagement with Chinese authority on cosmetic sector. And as you know, the cosmetic sector is also very important in Europe. And also we get a lot of the support from EU government, like EU Commission, EU delegation, and also Cosmetic Europe. So we will elaborate it more at the later stage, but I want to give you an overview about all the working groups of the EU CCC here. And then we can have a closer look at the cosmetic working group and also CSA desk. First of all, so far we have 18 very famous EU based or EU cosmetic company consist of the CSA, the Cosmetic Advisory Committee. You can see all the different names here, and some of them are also our, the very big economic contributor in cosmetic and also in consumer goods sector in China. And also we have at the working group level have over 70 members. As I said, 18 as a co-member as CSA, and also within the CSA, we already initiate 4 task force at the different aspect, so that we can have a more detailed technical discussion and also solution on different topics. So for the 4 task force of the working group, we have a product registration and a notification task force. And also we have a labeling and efficacy. And also we have a technical standard and in-market supervision. And also we just recently in the past, I think 6 months before, recently we established the safety assessment task force, so that we can, address the emerging challenge on the safety assessment report to be implemented May 1st this year. I think all the speakers later will also touch about this very hot topic. And also a quick overview on our advocacy effort in 2023. As you see, 23 advocacy actions with Chinese government, including the face-to-face meetings like NMPA, like NFDC, and also with the provincial level officials like Shanghai MPA, and also Registration Review Center. Also, by the way, just this morning in the UCCC Shanghai office. And then we also have a lot of the collaboration, as just I mentioned, with the European government, like the EU Commission, for sure, the EU DG Grow, DG Trade, and also EU delegation in China based in Beijing. And also as well as we have a strong collaboration with the Cosmetic Europe. And we also last year have 8 submission of the comments for the legislation changes. Let's look at the overall economic kind of importance of this EU-China collaboration on cosmetic sector. So this figure is, first of all, for the EU market. So the cosmetic import or export, the China is the top 3, means that from EU market to export to US, UK, and China, which is the top 3 market for the exportation, but also for the importation of the cosmetic to EU, you will also see the UK, US, and China is the top 3. But if you look at the China economic, market, cosmetic market size, it's a number 2, just to follow the US. And also in the past 10 years, almost every year, we have a consecutive higher growth rate versus China GDP. And also I just look at the recent announced China GDP last year is 5.2%. And also based on some statistics, it seems our cosmetic growth last year is around the same. The China Statistics Bureau, the figure is 5.1% for cosmetic. I think basically it's the same. And also we already saw a lot of rebound, especially for cosmetic sector after the COVID pandemic. Although for sure, we are also the industry has been heavily impacted by this pandemic. But in general, cosmetic has a higher resilience versus other FMCG industries. And then we can have a focused look at the big lobby or advocacy achievement in the past 3 years. So first of all, we want to talk about the last year, 2023, especially on the raw material submission, raw material information submission obligation. Because I think everyone understand after CSAR implementation, a lot of the new regulatory requirements has been implemented, especially for the raw material efficacy. So I think the raw material is one of the key challenging aspect or topic we all cope with. Based on all the consecutive lobby activity and effort, we finally got a new announcement last March, and from NMPA. The NMPA in this announcement gave additional grace period. I mean, the deadline has been postponed versus original date, and also give the more flexibility on this raw material information submission. I think one of the very key important achievement is at the initial stage, we have to get the endorsement or kind of approval from raw material supplier to submit the raw material information. But with this announcement, actually it opened the window or door for the cosmetic company. You can write your Annex 14 with the raw material information for some cases. So this is a big achievement. And also for sure, the longer grace period give everyone additional time to prepare this huge workload. And in 2022, I think especially if you are based in Shanghai, you know, we have a very long time, how to say, it's kind of a standstill of everything. So it's a special measurement because of COVID-19. So in this kind of very tough time for everyone's life and work, so with very efficient advocacy through the Shanghai MPA and also the national authority NMPA, in 2022, MPA also gave a very special announcement or policy to allow the company to submit your product registration or notification with some document exempted for temporary time. So, and you can submit this kind of documentation at the later stage. So this is also give flexibility to the whole industry to have more possibility to have a smooth product notification and registration approval to enable your product launch in the market. And then we look at the 2021, and you know, with the effective January 1st, 2021 of the CSAR, we also work on a lot of the new regulatory requirement changes. I think one of them is the cosmetic registration and notification dossier requirement. And especially for EU market, we always advocate the animal testing ban or animal testing exemption. So finally, we got the favorable policy for the ordinary cosmetic, not only for the domestic made, but also for the imported one. So for the imported ordinary cosmetic, as long as you have a GMP certificate and also safety evaluation report available, and then you can exempted from the animal testing on the finished product for the most cases, unless you are children cosmetic or have some new ingredient. And then let's talk about some signature collaboration activities between EU and China with the effort from EU CCC Cosmetic Working Group. The first one is last year, September 25th to 27th. We are privileged to co-organize a safety assessment training course together with an IFDC and also Cosmetic Europe. So this actually event has been well attended by all the safety assessor from the national authority, but also from the provincial level. And also it was very successful. We invite ICCS Vice Chair Vera, Professor Vera, to join to give a very dedicated elaboration on the safety assessment report, and together with grad from CE, who give a very good overview and also interpretation on the regulation related to the safety assessment report. And the next one is during the October last year, also together with Cosmetic Europe, we organized the cosmetic workshops in Zurich, especially have focused on the ISO, the international standard for cosmetic, especially for the ISO 217. We highlight the advancement of the international standard, ISO standard of cosmetics, especially like the in vitro SPF testing method, but also the microbiology ISO standards. And also we have a very constructive dialogue with the FDC on the future technical exchange on how to promote this international standard adoption in China. And also, in addition, in the end of October last year, we also joined the EU tour of the EU CCC to Brussels to meet the EU government and also NGO or stakeholders based in Brussels to present the cosmetic sector's issues with various senior EU leaders. Especially as a chair, I met with the DG Growth officials, DG Trade officials, as well as here is a picture where I joined the kind of a business roundtable organized by the China Chamber of Commerce to EU, together with EU CCC. And the China ambassador to EU also attend this meeting. And I presented the key issues or concerns and also suggestions about the cosmetic sector to the whole audience. And also it has been well received even by the China ambassador. And in the next few slides, just to give a quick overview also about how we can set up a bilateral dialogue between China and France and China and the EU on the cosmetic sector. So here you can see last July with the French minister together with Chinese premier, and they assigned a joint declaration on the collaboration on cosmetic sector between China and France. And this is for the first time for cosmetic industry or sector be incorporated into such high level economic and financial dialogue. The next one. And also you can see during the 10th EU-China high-level economic and trade dialogue last November, cosmetic working group also has been agreed to re-established to build this kind of bilateral dialogue on the regulatory and also technical issues. So we can leverage a future in the EU-China and the France-China bilateral dialogue to present our key topics to the Chinese senior officials. And then based on this collaboration framework I mentioned between EU, China, France, China, so the first working group meeting has been held last December in Brussels, Belgium, but also Paris, France. Here you can see a lot of the hot topics has been presented in this high-level bilateral dialogue between China and also EU, France, including the extended EU allergen labeling, how we interpret this new EU regulation to avoid any negative impact in China, but also we continue to advocate the animal testing exemption, not only for the ordinary cosmetic, but also for the long run for the special cosmetic. But also, as I said, continue to advocate the adoption of international standard in cosmetic sector for those ISO standards. But also, we talk about how we can have a convergency or exchange mechanism between EU, China on the positive ingredient list. For example, for the UV filters, preservatives, colorant, and hair dye. And also for sure, as all you are interested in, the safety assessment is one of the key issues has been addressed in this bilateral dialogue. And also in the following months, this year, we look forward to the additional bilateral dialogue between EU, China, France, China on further more in-depth technical exchange and discussion on these topics with priorities, and then can address our sector issues to boost the innovation and also business of cosmetic sector in China, especially could be favorable for our EU companies, no matter is a big player or SME.
Thank you, Jackie, for this very comprehensive overview of the activities of the working group. Now I'll move directly into the core, one of the core parts of this webinar. I'm happy to welcome Ms. Nicole Ding, who is the Cosmetics Business Supervisor at the consulting firm Reach 24. They do an incredible job in this compliance standards field, especially in cosmetics. So Nicole, she's going to provide an overview on the cosmetic supervision administration regulations and the recently released updates regarding this regulation. Nicole, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for the introduction. Okay, so good morning and good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much for having me here today. My name is Nicole Ding from Reach 24H Consulting Group. Today, I'm going to share with you the CSR update and the key compliance essentials to focus of the year. In the next 20 to 30 minutes, actually, I'm going to walk you through the 4 topics. Yeah, the 4 topics. The first one is the key compliance highlights of the year, and then I will provide a concise overview of toothpaste regulation updates and of new cosmetic ingredient management in China. And finally, I will briefly introduce our resources, which can facilitate your entry into the Chinese market with safety and efficiency. Next slide, please. Thank you. These are the 4 key compliance points to consider for offline sales of wholesale products. The first one would be the ingredient safety information. Next slide. As you know, starting from this year, starting from January 1st, you need to submit all the safety-related information of ingredients contained in finished products. You can either use the Annex 14, which is called Ingredient Quality and Safety-related information form or ingredient submission code to represent the ingredient safety information. As you can see in Annex 14, the ingredients trade name, composition, recommended amount used in cosmetics, production process, etc., will be included, while ingredient submission codes is relatively simple. It is composed of ingredient code in IECIC, manufacturer code, and also ingredient platform registration number. Yeah. Our previous, go back, thank you. As you can see here, there are 2 processes to submit the ingredient safety information. One thing I'd like to highlight is that it will be more convenient for cosmetic registrants and notifiers to submit ingredient submission code, because with ingredient submission codes, the ingredient safety information will be automatically related to formulas on the portal. While with Annex 14, cosmetic registrants and notifiers need to manually input the ingredient information on the portal, which may take more time. Next slide, please. Yeah. Here comes the transitional measures for ingredient safety information submission. So as mentioned, starting from the beginning of this year, all the new products need to submit the safety-related information of the ingredients before successfully registering your finished products. And for cosmetics that were registered before May 1st, 2021, and contain ingredients with quality specifications required by STSC, the cosmetic registrants and notifiers need to provide ingredient quality specification documents or ingredient safety information by January 1st of this year. And for products registered or notified between May 1st, 2021 and December 31st last year, only high-risk ingredients need to submit safety ingredient information. Yeah. The second requirement would be the full CPSR. My colleague Lily will provide a more detailed presentation later, so I will not go into it here. I just want to mention, like, after May 1st, the full CPSR will take into effect. Yeah. The third one would be the annual report for general cosmetics. So starting from January 1st, 2022, cosmetic notifiers need to submit an annual report for general cosmetics that have been notified for at least 1 year. And the allowed time frame for submitting annual report would be from January 1st to March 31st each year. And actually, the annual reporting system requires companies to review and evaluate the compliance status of notified products, and as well as the production and sales activities. The purpose of establishing this mechanism is to review the status of notified products and also to prompt adjustments when necessary. The fourth point is about the efficacy regulatory update. Starting from January 1st, 2022, all the efficacy claims need to be supported by sufficient scientific basis. And these bases can include literature document, research data, or test reports. And a kind reminder that you do not need to submit the full report on the portal. Instead, the abstract of the efficacy reports need to be uploaded to the website, and all the abstracts will be subject to public scrutiny. Yeah, the efficacy standards have include only 20 efficacy claims. And you can either provide human trial or consumer test reports, laboratory test reports, or document literature to be the efficacy evaluation basis. And let's take a look at the first 6 efficacies, which are freckle removing, freckle removing and whitening, sunscreen, anti-hair loss, acne removing, nourishing, and repairing. You need to provide the human trial test reports to validate these 6 efficacies. In addition, human trials related to freckle removing and whitening, sunscreen, and anti-hair loss need to be performed in Chinese certified institutions using the test methods designated by NMPA. And for the other efficacies, the efficacy testing can be performed overseas. It is worth mentioning that there are 2 types of products that can be exempted efficacy testing. First, for products with efficacies that can be directly recognized through senses such as vision and smell, you do not need to provide efficacy evaluation basis. For example, facial wash products, perfumes, hair dyes, hair perming products, you do not need to provide efficacy evaluation. And the second one would be the products who has efficacies that are achieved through the simple physical application, adhesion, friction, and are clearly indicated physical effects only on the label. You do not need to provide any efficacy tests for those products. And you might have a question about like 20 efficacies do not cover the existing claims on the market. What if I want to claim skin brightening, antioxidant, anti-glycation, anti-aging, anti-blue light for my products? First, you need to make sure these efficacies fall under the definition of cosmetics in China. For example, anti-aging or anti-blue light, technically, from the perspective of NMPA, these are not efficacies for cosmetic product. And for the others, we recommend you claim efficacy result for your products instead of claiming efficacy mechanisms for your products. For example, skin brightening. This is an efficacy result. Yeah, you can claim this for your product, but for antioxidant, it is technically an efficacy mechanism or approach to achieve desired efficacy results. For example, you need to achieve moisturizing, firming, anti-wrinkle, or even skin brightening through antioxidant. Then we will recommend you just claim moisturizing, firming, anti-wrinkle, or skin brightening for your products. Next, let's focus on the regulatory updates for toothpaste. Actually, toothpaste regulation updates can be discussed in details for like 40 minutes. So due to time constraints today, I will focus on the key aspects of toothpaste regulations. The table represents the current framework of toothpaste regulations. So as you can see, only 2 regulations have been released and took effect on December 1st, 2023. The first one is about administrative measures on toothpaste. And these measures stipulates the responsibilities of all stakeholders, definition, the management requirements for toothpaste products and toothpaste ingredients, the ongoing use of the existing toothpaste production licensing system, and the requirements for toothpaste safety assessment, efficacy claims, and labeling. And the second one is also very significant. It is provisions for management of toothpaste notification dossiers, which stipulates the document requirements for toothpaste notification. However, there are 3 regulations that are yet to be published, which are inventory of existing toothpaste ingredients, standards for toothpaste efficacy claim evaluation, and technical guidelines for safety assessment of toothpaste. It is worth mentioning that the China Oral Care Industry Association released a draft version of existing toothpaste ingredients last week. But it also should be noted that this ingredient list is issued by the association itself instead of from the NMPA. And there is no safety evaluation of the ingredients has been conducted on this stage. So we should still await the official publication from the NMPA for further guidelines and clarifications. So the regulations has defined the definition of toothpaste. In China, toothpaste refers to a paste-like product applied to the surface of human teeth, primarily for the purpose of cleansing through friction. So as you can see here, there are 4 aspects in the definition. The first one is about the product dosage form, paste-like. Second, application area, human teeth. Third, use purpose, cleansing. And the 4th action mode is friction. So according to this definition, tooth powder, mouthwash, or any products listed here which are related to disinfection or medical claims do not fall under the category of toothpaste. And these non-toothpaste products are prohibited from using the term toothpaste on its label or any other means to mislead the customers. So if your product is classified as toothpaste in China, your toothpaste will be subject to notification management, similar to general cosmetic management in China. And the regulations all stipulates that the efficacy claims of toothpaste should have a sufficient scientific basis. And these 5 points are explicitly mentioned in the regulations. First is the basic cleansing. If your toothpaste only has this efficacy, you do not need to provide any efficacy testing reports. And basic cleansing can be claimed for children toothpastes. Children toothpaste in China actually refers to toothpaste used for children under 12 years old, including 12. And if your toothpaste has any of one of the 4 main efficacies, which are anti-caries, anti-plaque, anti-dentin sensitivity, or alleviate gum problems, you need to perform human efficacy trials. And these efficacy trials should be conducted in GCP qualified institutions. And for children toothpaste, you can only claim anti-caries. So in China, there are only 2 efficacies for children toothpaste, which are basic cleansing and anti-caries. It's also worth mentioning, like if your toothpaste has any one of the 4 efficacies, which are anti-caries, anti-plaque, anti-dentin sensitivity, or alleviate gum problems, you are required to do toxicological testing in China. So go back, please. Yeah, thank you. So how about additional efficacies beyond the 4 main ones? Yes, you can claim that in China, as long as you provide the scientific basis and you need to ensure these efficacies do not related to medical claims. And no human efficacy trials for additional efficacies or neither toxicological testing is required for additional efficacies. Instead, efficacy verification related to like whitening, reduced bad breath can be performed overseas using national standards, industry standards, or group standards. Next, let's focus on the new cosmetic ingredient management in China. So next slide, please. Thank you. The definition in the regulation is quite simple. So like all the natural or artificial ingredients used for cosmetics for the first time in China, specifically Chinese mainland, are new cosmetic ingredients, NCI. So you might have question like, how do I know whether my ingredient will be considered an NCI in China? The authority has released the technical guidelines to help you determine your ingredient. So if your ingredient is used for the first time, thank you. So if your ingredient is used for the first time in cosmetics in China and its intended use application area conform to the definition of cosmetics, or if it's an existing ingredient, but its intended use and the safe use amount in cosmetics have changed, or you have already finished the registration or notification of your ingredient, but the INCI name has not been included in IECIC, then your ingredient will be classified as a new cosmetic ingredient in China. On the contrary, your ingredient will not be deemed new in China. I provided some examples at the below. How about NMN? Are you familiar with this ingredient? So actually, this is a naturally occurring vitamin B3, and this is a new cosmetic ingredient in China, and it's already finished notification processes and has been publicly disclosed on the portal. But if the ingredient is related to oral mucosal, human sourced, or scale repair, those ingredients will not be deemed as new cosmetic ingredients in China. Why? Because like oral mucosal is not applied to human skin, and the human sourced ingredients is prohibited in China. And the scar repair is related to medical claims, so it does not fall under the definition of cosmetics. And new cosmetic ingredients are managed based on their risks. As you can see here, there are three risk levels. High risk ingredients refers to preservatives, sunscreen, colorant, hair dyeing, freckle removing, and whitening. While medium risk ingredients refers to anti-hair loss, anti-acne, anti-wrinkle, anti-dandruff, and deodorant. All the other ingredients will be deemed as low-risk ingredients. And high-risk ingredients are subject to registration process, while medium and low-risk ingredients need to undergo the notification process. Also, even if the medium risk is subject to notification, its toxicological requirements is the same as high-risk ingredients. After you successfully register or notify your new cosmetic ingredients, and there is one finished product that uses your new cosmetic ingredients has been completed product registration, these new cosmetic ingredients will go into a period called a 3-year safe monitoring period. And the ingredient company needs to report to NMPA about the use or safe data of these new cosmetic ingredients in these 3-year periods to the NMPA annually. If there are no safety issues found during the 3 years, the INCI name of this ingredient will be included in IECIC. However, if any safety issues are found during the 3 years, the NMPA may cancel or withdraw your certification. This flowchart summarizes the whole process of new cosmetic ingredient registration and notification. The chart on the left shows the registration process for high-risk ingredients, while the chart on the right is for notification for medium and low-risk ingredients. First, you need to have the responsible person in China for each new cosmetic ingredients. And this responsible person actually should be a legal entity in the Chinese mainland. Then you need to apply for the account, do toxicological testing, and prepare the dossier, then submit. It is worth mentioning that for medium and low risk, which undergo the notification management, you submit the dossier and you pass the format review, which will take 5 working days. If you pass a format review, your part of your ingredient information will be disclosed on the portal. At that time, you are allowed to sell your ingredients in China. However, for high-risk ingredients, after you submit the dossier, you need to pass format review and also technical review. You need to pass like 2 stages. You need to pass 2 stages of review, then you are allowed to sell your ingredients in China. So here the table shows the dossier requirements for the account opening and NCI registration and notification. The dossier difference between high risk and the other risk ingredients is only about the toxicological testing. Next slide, please. Yeah, here are 6 categories of new cosmetic ingredient in China. And I will not go into detail here because next slide, please. Yeah, because actually this is to show you the different toxicological testing endpoints for 6 categories. I know you are like you care about animal testing. So if your ingredient is for category 1, 2, and 4, you need to do animal testing for your NCI registration or notification. But if your ingredient fall under category 3, 5, or 6, you have a chance to avoid the animal testing. Last, I'll just briefly discuss the resources we have to help you enter the Chinese market. Yes, for the Chinese market, we can help you register your new cosmetic ingredients or finished products or toothpaste. And we can also be the responsible person for you in China. And we also provide compliance services in United States, EU, South Korea, Japan, and also ASEAN. So yeah, that's everything from me today. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Nicole, for this very detailed and technical presentation. We are a bit late, so I will immediately move into the second presentation, Miss Lily Lee, who is a Senior Regulatory Technical Engineer at RICH 24H, and she's going to focus specifically on the the food safety assessment report. Lily, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you so much, Excel. Because the time is over, so I will give you this presentation in multiple speed. Good afternoon, and thank you so much to be here. My name is Lily from RICH 24, and I'm so glad to be here to talk to you about the hot issue about the impact and the challenge of the forward-washing safety assessment report in China. Next, please. And here we will focus on 3 points. The first concern on the impact and the challenge of the forward-washing report. And next, I will give you a brief introductions of the similarities and the differences between the safety assessment in EU and China. And finally, I'll give you some suggestions for the challenge of the forward-washing report. And I hope that by the end of my presentation, you can have a better understanding of the forward-washing and safety assessment report, and so that you can be more ready for the big challenge of this forward-washing report. Let's move to the first part. Next, please. As we know, China's new cosmetic regulations come into effect in 2021. And in the same year, the technical guidelines for cosmetic safety assessment was effective with about 3 years grace period, which means on the May 1st, 2024, the registration applicants and the notifiers must submit the forward-washing report. Next. And in order to help you to understand the impact and the challenges of the forward-washing report, I'd like to review the differences between the forward-washing and the simplified version. As we know, there are two main differences between them. And the first one, and the most important one, is type changes of the permissible evidence can be used for the comparison assessment in these two versions. In simplified version, there are four types permissible evidence can be used for the comparison assessment. And without these four types, you need a complete safety assessment for the ingredients. But in the full version, there are only type 1 and type 2 can be used. Next, and we will take a look by this evidence one by one, because the use of these evidence are very important for the safety assessment. The first and the most important is the requirements in the STSC. Like the EU regulation, cosmetic regulations, the STSC has its own list of the restricted ingredients, permitted preservatives, sunscreens, colorants, and the hair dyes. And if the ingredients is in this list, must meet the requirements of the STSC. Next. Take the phenolphthalein as an example, and the phenolphthalein is a permitted preservative in STSC, and so it must meet the requirement of the STSC. The maximum concentration is 1%. The use of the evidence 1 is same in the full version and the simplified version, because the STSC requirement is always regarded as a golden standard for the safety assessment. But there are still some ingredients with safe limits in STSC. So what should we do with such ingredients without the safe limits in the full version report? There's no statement in STSC, and so far, no official guidelines issued. We will follow the update. So next, we move to the evidence 2. The ingredients isn't in the list of the STSC, and we can try to use evidence 2, the safety limits and the conclusion from the domestic and foreign authoritative institutions. If there are additional requirements in the conclusion, like the non-irritation and the use of these ingredients must meet these requirements. Next, please. For example, the orange peel oil isn't the ingredients in the STSC, but it has its own CSAR report with the safety limits and the conclusion. So if you want to use this evidence to assess orange peel oil in a leave-on product, the use of orange peel oil then must meet 3 requirements. The first one is, of course, the safe limit. And the second, you have to provide the sufficient evidence to prove that the formula or the final product is non-irritating and non-sensitizing. And of course, you can use skin irritation and sensitization test report. But in China, you can also use the human patch test result. And second, you have to provide the sufficient file to prove that and the MOP in the ingredients is less than 15 ppm, like the spec. And the use of the evidence 2 is the same in the full version and the simplified version. And the evidence 1 and evidence 2 are the only 2 evidence can be used for the comparison assessment in the full version. But in the simplified version, we can use the evidence 3 if the ingredients without evidence 1 and evidence 2. Next. And evidence 3 is the historical use concentrations in the enterprises. And next, please. Take the face cream with ethyl alcohol as an example. You can choose a qualified product as a reference product for the safety assessment. But this kind of evidence is traditional evidence, so it cannot be accepted for the full version. Next. In the simplified report, if the ingredients without evidence 1, 2, 3, they have the third choice. It is known as the highest historical use amount in ICSA list. This is very useful data for the simplified report. Next, and it is used very simple. For example, the face cream contains arachidonic alcohol, and this ingredient does have the evidence 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. But in the ICSA data, they have the live on highest historical use amount. So you just compare the contents in the product with ICS data, then you can get the safety conclusion. But the ICS data are not verified. It is just the data collection from the products with a notification. So like the evidence 3, it is no longer be accepted for the full version assessment report. Okay, based on the information I just gave, we can know that the ingredients, we just used the evidence 3 and evidence 4. In the full version report need a complete safety assessment according to the technical guidelines. Next. And also take the face cream contains arachidonic alcohol as example. In the full version report, we should provide the certain toxicological endpoints and carry out more calculations to get the safety assessment conclusions. And a complete safety assessment is always an issue many companies are concerned. And as we know that a lot of ingredients in the full version report without the evidence 1 and evidence 2 need the complete safety assessment. So I would like to tell you more about the complete safety assessment. And the first question is there any standard for a minimum toxicity requirements for the complete safety assessment? And the answer is no. There is no all-purpose standards for the toxicity data requirements for the complete safety assessment. But according to our experience, the minimum toxicity requirements for the complete safety assessment usually involves 6 parts. Like in the slides, acute toxicity, skin irritation, and the systemic toxicity for the most calculations. But you have to determine the toxicity data requirements for the complete safety assessment case by case. For example, for the ingredients or the product may cause inhalation exposure, so the inhalation toxicity data are needed. The good news is certain toxicological endpoints can be exempted conditionally. Next, please. For example, the product which is not intended used for the eye area, then the eye irritation can be exempted. And the ingredients without UV absorption, then the phototoxicity and the photoallergy are not necessary. And the best one is the last one. The systemic toxicity can be exempted conditionally. Usually for the certified safe edible ingredients and the certain polymer ingredients without the dermal absorptions. Here I want to give you some tips for the certified safe edible ingredients which can be exempted from the systemic toxicity. First one, you have to make sure that the ingredients in the cosmetics must meet the restrictions of the ingredients used as fodder materials. For example, the peach gum is the certified raw food materials in China. And if you want to assess the peach gum exempted from the systemic toxicity, you have to provide the sufficient evidences to prove that the peach gum in cosmetics meet the requirements in the right table on these sliders. And next, pay attention to certain and safe edible ingredients, especially the food ingredients with very small amount, such like the food additives. So you have to compare these ingredients cosmetic exposure and with ingredients in the food exposures. And the last safe edible ingredients I want to talk about is extract from the edible plant ingredients. Please pay attention for these following 3 points. The first is make sure that the extract is from the part we eat. And the next, make sure the extract is just a crude extract, no purification or no concentrations. And the third is make sure that the manufacture process without no biochemical reactions and no new chemicals like use aqua method, extraction method. And this is all about the first difference of the full version, the simplified version. And the second difference is in the full version, and there are additional 3 testing reports are needed. There are physicochemical properties and stability reports, and the preservative challenge report, and the capabilities of the packaging materials testing report. And so far, there's no standards and guidelines were issued from the relevant government. And for the PET, and we suggest make maybe you can use the international standards or the testing method like from the ISSO or the CTFA and as references. But for the other 2, there's no international method that can be used as the references. Next. And so based on all the differences between these 2 versions, let's talk about the impact and the challenge of the full version. And this the big challenge is come from the type changes of the permissible evidence. As we know, there are 89 and 72 ingredients in IECIC list, but in the STSC, only provide 357 ingredients, but some of them without the safe limit. And how about the evidence 2? And according to relevant statistics, there are only about 3,500 ingredients in IECSC have CSAR or SCCS report. So both evidence 1 and evidence 2 can only provide less than half of the IECSC ingredients. So we will face huge data gaps for the comparison assessment. And all of the ingredients which used to be used the evidence 3 and the evidence 4 now need the complete safety assessment. And there are still data gaps for the complete safety assessment. Next. Especially for the certain toxicological endpoints. For example, the skin phototoxicity and the allergy data are seldom involved in the chemical databases or the drug materials databases. And for the systemic toxicity, it is more difficult issue because of the animal test. Next, so based on all of the information we have, and we will face huge data gaps because of the evidence change. And if you want to fill these data gaps, maybe through the data search or the tax test, it will cost a lot in labor, in time, and in money. And because of the difficulty of the full version report, maybe we'll face a shortage of the well-trained safety assessor. And all of these issues will make the TTM much more longer, and the cost of the new products increase dramatically. So the industry is under a greater pressure because of the full version report. But we found that the requirement of the full version report is closer to the EU's safety assessment. So I guess maybe we can find some inspirations from the EU and China safety assessment. And compared to China's safety assessment report, and the EU required the safety assessment report since the last century. But But both China and EU share the similar principles of the safety assessment, and such like both district consider that the cosmetic products are the mixture of the ingredients, and the prediction of the cosmetic product safety based on the safety of the ingredients, and the cosmetic safety assessment should involve the ingredients and the risk substance safety assessment. And both China and the EU have the similar assessment process following these 4 steps. I think you are all aware of this. So next. And in China and the EU, they all required a qualified safety assessor for the safety assessment. But in China, we request the safety assessor must have at least 5 years relevant work experience. In EU, there's no such requirement. And with more than 30 years of the development of safety assessment, the EU have mature 2-channel systems for the safety assessment. But in China, we don't have such channels, like we don't have the similar institution like the SCCS to evaluate the ingredients in the STSC. But both of the safety assessment is exposure driven, but we have differences in the details, such like the acceptance of the CSAR Red Cross TTC, and a difference of the cosmetics adverse reaction monitoring systems. And the most important is in China, the Drug Administration will reveal the safety assessment report. This is different from the EU. Okay, this is the last part. I would like to share some suggestions for the full version report. And the bad news is my suggestion is only one: to take action, to find and analysis the top. I know you are all looking for this part, but and for the cosmetics companies and the supply and raw material supplies, you have to find and analyze the tax data gaps for your own products and your ingredients according to the requirements of the full version. If there are data gaps, you can follow this process to find out the data from the domestic institutions or the foreign institutions, and if not, ask the ingredients supplies, and if no, expanding the scope of the data search. And if you can't find this toxicology data, and for the systemic toxicity, maybe you can try the non-testing approach like the TTC, but if no, you have the only choice, the toxicological test. And next, here, really want to share this decision tree according to the data requirements of the forwarding reports. It is start with a question whether is it in the STS list. And because of the time, I won't give you the details of this decision tree, but it can only be used as a reference, and you can see it after this presentation. Okay, thank you so much. That's all for today. Thank you for your time.
So thank you for this presentation. We're a bit late, but we already have a lot of questions. So I would move into this section already. I would also like to welcome Mr. Eric Huang to join this Q&A session. Mr. Huang is the Vice Chairman of the Cosmetics Working Group at the European Chamber. So thank you very much for joining us. We have a few questions already. I would start with the first one. Maybe I would start with Eric, since you are joining this session. So the impact of this safety assessment report, but also this regulation in general, is different between companies which have R&D capacities, I guess, in China, and those maybe smaller companies that don't have any R&D capacity in China, but maybe that we have it in Europe. So in this case, in the latter case, for SMEs without R&D capacity in China, how should they prepare for the full safety assessment report for implementing this?
Thank you, Alex. So, yeah, I think this topic might be very interested for most of the SME companies, especially which haven't set up a very strong capability, especially on the toxicology evaluation part in China. So, well, for sure, there's no golden standard for as the answer, but I think there's some few tips and recommendations I could share. The first one is to set up very close connections with the with your headquarters and also or the brand owner, to ensure that you can receive the accurate and truthful information and data to support your full safety assessment preparations. And at the same time, we know that the NMPAs and the subsidiary institutes are organizing different level of training for the full safety assessments preparations. So that would be also a very good opportunity to understand the details requirements, the format, and the authorities' expectations on the data on the details of the data preparations. So attending this kind of training will be definitely helpful. And at the same time, as Jackie introduced earlier, in the EUCCC Cosmetic Working Group, we also have set up a dedicated task force for safety evaluations. And we have also set up a very good collaborative relationship with NIFDCs and the Shanghai Technical Review Center, Shanghai MPA. So the task force is collecting and summarizing the good practice from the peers companies in this industry, summarizing the principles and collecting the templates of each sessions of the full safety report, and more importantly, to share and calibrate these informations and good practice with the authority to understand their expectation and acceptance. So I highly recommend the company who have this kind of demands to contact our Katie or Cosmetic Working Group to get these kind of information that the task force can share. And last but not least is that for many of these SME companies, we definitely need some capable partner to prepare the final full safety assessment report. And I think this will also be a very important approach. So please also pay attention and keep monitoring on the from the industry and set up connections and collaborations partnership with the capable agencies or consulting service providers such as or Reach 24H to get their holistic service and also advice on the compliance strategy and dossier preparations. So this is the few tips and recommendation I could share on this topic. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Eric. And maybe Kitty, if in the meantime we can change the slide. There are also quite a few questions in the Q&A box. Maybe I'm going to pick a few of them. I guess this would be more for Lily and Nicole. So the first one is, do Chinese regulations impose any specific requirements for efficacy tests on functional cosmetic products? Because we do the test in Europe, but they were told that the European test didn't cover everything that the Chinese authorities require. So who wants to take this question?
Yeah, thank you, So, actually, as I mentioned, only 3 efficacies need to be performed in China, and all the other efficacy can be performed overseas. The 3 efficacies should be performed in China are freckle removing and whitening, sunscreen, and anti-hair loss. So, except for these 3 efficacies, all the efficacy testing can be performed overseas. And they will be accepted in China as long as there are no medical claims in those reports.
Very good. So another question relates to the full safety, the Chinese full safety assessment. Should it be signed by a Chinese safety assessor?
Actually, as long as the people meets the requirement of the safety assessor, it does not matter whether he or she is Chinese or from other Asian nations.
Right. Okay. Another question is TTC. Is it accepted for all ingredients? I think we mentioned this before, but
The TTC and have the restriction for the use. It's only used ingredients with clear structures and without the mutagenic toxicity alert structure. And the most important is it have to be used for the cheese ingredients in China.
Very good. So 2 other questions. The complete safety assessment, will it be requested also for those cosmetics which have already been successfully notified?
No. Like if you already registered your products before May 1st this year, you do not need to supplement the full CSAR.
Right. And maybe for those who haven't been registered yet, do you think there is any chance that the full safety report will be delayed?
We hope so. But there is no confirmed news from the authority. I think like many big companies present here today, they are struggling with advocacies with the authority.
Right. Okay. Very good. So another question. Questions keep coming in, but so how about if the toxicity requirements are not all available for a specific ingredient, and this toxicity requirements is not exemptable? How does it work in this case?
You mean for existing ingredient or is it for new cosmetic ingredient?
It is not specified in the question, but I would say for new ingredients.
So like if the toxicity data is not acceptable, then first, as Lily said, just expand the scope of the data research. If you still cannot find any data on any public sources, then you need to do toxicological testing in China to supplement this endpoint.
Very good. Another question, if a simplified version of the safety assessment for an ingredient has already been submitted, does a full version need to be submitted as well, or the simplified one is enough?
Actually, like for ingredients, especially for new cosmetic ingredients, most of the safety assessment report will comply with full safety assessment requirements.
Very good. There's a very interesting question which was asked twice. So in case it is needed to provide the data regarding the usage, the history of use in overseas markets. So is there any mandatory information to include, or maybe a specific format to follow to prove such evidence?
If it is for new cosmetic ingredients, yes, we can provide detailed suggestions on the format of these 3-year safe use evidence. Maybe we can talk in detail after the meeting, like via email or something like that. We can provide the detailed suggestions on this topic.
Right. Okay. So I hope the person who asked this question has got the message. Maybe I have a couple of questions more, and then we can leave the floor to questions from the offline participants. Let me see. There are quite a few, but so if the ingredient is in the STSC, but with no concentration, is this accepted or not as evidence of safety?
And according to the simplified report acceptance, and actually there are 3 types of the ingredients in STSA. One is with safe limits. Of course, it is very easy. But the second one is the ingredients without a safe limit, but with the use restriction or the qualified specifications. So you just meet the these requirements like the quality specification or the residual limit of the risk substance. And the third type is ingredients without safe limit and no quality specification and no risk substance residue content. And for this ingredient, it is generally considered that such ingredients will not cause health damage to the human and in the normal usage of cosmetics.
Very good. Maybe the last question is well, if the full safety report still has to be provided in Chinese or English is accepted, and in any case, if you have to submit the actual stability report or only a description or summary of the test and the results.
So I beg your pardon, sorry.
Yes, so basically 2 questions from the same person. If the report must be in Chinese or English is accepted as well. And then the second part of this question is whether the actual stability report must be submitted or maybe just a summary, a description of the test and the results.
All the reports or all the dossiers submitted to authority should be in Chinese. And actually, sorry, I didn't quite follow the applicable reports.
Stability report. Actual stability report.
So actually, there's no any guidelines for the stability test report. So and we have no idea about the review standard of the stability testing report. So
very good.
we hope in the future 3.5 months is the government can release the related guidelines for these 3 additional tests.
Can the safety data for plant extract with historical food safe use, but with INCI indicating a different part of the plant still be used? It's a complex question. I think you can also read it yourself. It's the last question.
And as far as we know, the answer is no. You have to use the same part of the edible part.
Right.
This is very important for the certified edible food.
Okay. Very good. So maybe I would end it here. There were a few other questions, including a couple on animal testing. I think we can also provide an answer to this, but the exemption can be obtained in some cases for generic cosmetics, provided that there are some there is a GMP certificate from the government authority and a couple of other conditions. We can provide more details on this. But yeah, unfortunately, we don't have time for other questions. So this is QR code. We would really appreciate if you could take 1 minute of your time to scan this and provide us your feedback about this event. Personally, I think it was very interesting and very technical. So certainly very useful for our audience. Then yes, I think we could end it here. Thanks for all the speakers. Thanks to all the speakers for your excellent presentation. Thanks for European Chamber for co-organizing this with us, to the particular the Cosmetics Working Group for their excellent job as always, and to all the participants for your attention. So if there are any questions, oh, by the way, sorry, the slides will be sent to the participants. Also, the recording of this webinar will be uploaded on our website, without any personal information involved, obviously. But if you have any questions in the next days, you can reach out to us. We'll be very happy to provide an answer. And also, you're very welcome to get in touch with the Cosmetics Working Group and the speakers themselves. Thank you, and see you the next time.